Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. Welcome to part 2 of the Sharp GF-6060 repair. If you've missed part 1, you can always go back and view that one. In there we actually looked at the cassette mech, we stripped it down, cleaned it all up, lubricated it, changed the belts, replaced the all-important capstan idler, all sorts of stuff. That was all ready to go, but all I needed to do then was actually replace the aerial. And the reason I started this as a quick separate video is because in most boomboxes or any sorts of stereos really, normally the aerial would just screw through onto the stem or the base mounted in the unit, not a problem. Unfortunately this one, if I can even bring it to you now, has got a broken stem, so we can't just unscrew it there, we've actually got to remove the stem itself. And again, normally not a problem. Again, on most stereos and boomboxes there'll be an antenna screw and you can just unscrew that, pull the stem out, insert the new one, put the screw back in, job done. Unfortunately, not only is this one broken here, there is no screw to remove it either, so we've got to attack it from the other side, which means removing the entire circuit board because the screw is going to be somewhere behind here. Right, the mech's already out because we did all that in part 1. So here we go then. Let's see if we can get this main circuit board out. First thing I think is to remove the switch tips and the knobs. And with that done, there are some screws to come out. I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and possibly this one here. So let's get those out, see how we get on. So I think that's all the screws out now. We did also of course have the power leads from the mains transformer attached originally. Those particular ones were already disconnected because I'd worked on the mech in part 1. You've also just got this final one to come away as well, and that was quite promising. That seemed really loose already, so let's see what happens then. I'm just going to try and tuck these cables out of the way a little bit. Now, it looks promising, I've got to say. And what do you know? Wow, there she is. Well, we'll take a look at this beauty in a second, but first let's see what we've got to do with the aerial. So we can see the transformers left in here, and we've got a shielding plate there, and the aerial screw just in here. So of course, if I can bring you in a little bit, that's the offending article just there. So I don't know if I actually even have a stem that matches that, but we won't know till we look at it. So let's get this out and see what we've got. Well, good news is it was that easy to get out in the end. You can see it just there, and you can see what I mean now. It's actually snapped. It should have another part if I just get the aerial tip, as it were. It should actually sort of be entrapped in there, but of course that side is sheared off. So yeah, good for nothing. Right, I've got to see if I can find another one. Also, I'll just give this little earth strap a little bit of a clean up, a bit corroded. Just going to go and polish that, see if we can find this bit for the aerial. I've got some sort of spare aerial stems here, but it's not looking good if I'm honest. Let me just tip these out and show you what I mean. So this is the original one, quite a thick stem on this one, and it's quite long as well. Plus the contact point is eccentric, you can see it coming off of one side. I've got one here that's the right length, the right width, In fact, it's exactly correct. It's just that it's in the middle and not on the side, so I don't think I can use that one. I've got one that one's in the middle as well, and it's too thin. I've got another one here that's off to the side, plus it's the right thickness, but I think it's slightly too short. Okay, well, it's the best of a bad lot. It's also got a different size screw hole in it, which may or may not be an issue. The thing is, the receiving hole in the case is going to be designed for this screw, and obviously the hole for this stem is actually smaller, and any screw that will go through that is probably not going to engage in there. Right, okay, something to ponder for a second. In the meantime, these little beauties sort of fell off as I took the board out. Obviously these are just your dust covers for your switches. It's quite a nice time now when you do get circuit boards out to go and give these a bit of a rub, give them a clean, get the worst of the dust off, and if you want to, you can even then reverse them so they're all fresh again, so that when you put it all back together, your switch tips are all nice and clean and they're not looking all dusty and scruffy. Okay, well, as I'm not having much luck with that, I tried a couple of other ones that were kicking about, like spares and stuff like that, and I've literally just ended up stripping down a GF-6060. Good news is, I think it might be the right aerial. Bad news is, looks like I've got to do the same trick and try and take it all apart. Rod antenna screw. Hang on. Does that mean this could go horribly wrong? Yeah, I've still got to get to that screw. God, what a nightmare, man. Okay, well, here we go then. Okay, here we go. Blimey. Right. Okay, well, there's the mech sort of out of the way. You didn't see any of that. Hang on. Basically, what I've just done here, hang on. Oh, it's all in, everything's a mess. Everything's gone horribly wrong. Right, I've just unscrewed and got the cables out of the mech, moved that to one side, so that I can, in theory now, get rid of some of these screws. And I'm not trying to remove the whole thing per se, I just want to move it like an inch and a half, just so as I can get to the screw underneath. And after that, it might still not be the right, one. Right, there's one. If it's the wrong aerial after this and I've got to reassemble this whole unit, I probably won't be that impressed, to be honest. But anyways, that's, I think, all the screws I can see. Can I get to that one? Yep, just about. Right, now we can get the aerial out. Good news, it looks to all intents and purposes to be exactly the same 3-piece aerial. So, made a bit of a, whatever you like to call it, of this lot. There's not much left of this 4747 now, but that's a little job for that's a job for later, to put that back together. That wasn't what you called. Hang on. Right. So let's bring back the other case. Just got to remember to keep all the parts together. There's so many different bits now. Right, okay, here's the new aerial. And I'm hoping, against hope maybe, Yeah, it's pretty clean on the bottom. Well, got to say, boys and girls, I think we've cracked it. So now we know, we think, that a Sharp GF-4747 aerial fits a 6060. That's something nice to know at least. Right. Good. So we have ourselves an aerial. Magic. Right, so all we've got to do now is put the whole thing back together again. So back with the circuit board. I'll just give you a quick look just to see what's what. There we go. Effectively it's two boards joined together, but as you can see the dial cord stretches across both, but it does come out as one. Right. So all we've got to do is gently layer this back in where it came from. Oh, don't forget the little switch tips as well. And in fact, I'm going to do this slightly off camera, I'm afraid, but to stop everything falling out, I'm actually going to stand the back up and fit the board vertically, I think. There we go. So that's about there. Everything's fell into place and it feels absolutely spot on. Blimey. Well, okay. Right, good stuff. Let's get this back together. It's always worth dotting the screws around when you reinstall, just to make sure that everything's lined up nicely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. Count it out and count it back in. Whew, blimey, what a palaver. Well, good. Well, that's one job done. And I'm waiting to actually just do a bit more on the mech before I finally put it back together. It does work, but I'm just waiting on some idlers. There's a new idler tyre for there, and also the pinch roller on this is a little bit hard. I have treated it and cleaned it up. You won't see much, but basically it's got a bit plasticky, so just getting some new pinch rollers and stuff like that as well. So I won't put it back properly as it were, I don't think. I'll just rest it for now. Oops, right way. Just trying to make sure I don't get my hands all over everything that I've cleaned. Right, good. So that's basically that for this part one of part two. So what I'll just do now is put this back away tidily, sort out the terrible mess that I've made of this GF-4747 just to get to the aerial here. And yeah, and I'll be back, well, a quick fade I think. Next time you see me will be a number of days or weeks later, depending on when my idler tyre and pinch roller and stuff arrive, and then we'll just fit those, get the whole thing back together, give it a final reveal. But at least we've found the aerial. Right, well, I'm going to try and put this little jigsaw puzzle back together. Probably not worth it if I'm honest, but at least if everything's put back from whence it came, it'll be easier to find spares next time. Okay, it's a few days later and I've got a new pinch roller. Nice new fresh rubber. Should be just the job. I think it's the right size. Hope so anyways. But to change it, basically what we're going to need to do is press the old pinch roller away from its pin. And to do that, we've just got the E-clip holding the mech in place and the spring, which is tensioning the roller just there. So first thing we'll do is just pop off the E-clip. And what do you know, we got it off without it flying across the room. That's always a bonus. Okay, next job then is just to disengage the spring like so, and that leaves us the carriage for the pinch roller mechanism. And what we should be able to do, you can see I lubricated it and tried to clean it up as best as I could, but it's quite polished. You'll see it there, and that's it'll work. It was running all right, but I'm just worried that it's going to start slipping, especially when you use the auto search and stuff like that. There's just not really enough bite, so I'm not comfortable with that. So I'm going to try and drive this pin out if we can, see if we can get the new roller in place. Now you can, if you want to, use a hardened punch and just put this in a vise and drive the pin out, which does work. It can be quite effective, but I'm going to try something a little bit different today. I have to hand a couple of motorcycle chain link removal tools, so I'm going to try and use one of those as a kind of a press, as long as it's going to be close. It's going to be close as to whether the pin is too large. Well, I'm not going to lie, that was overcomplicating things a bit. To be honest, this little punch that's in here, the smallest one I've got, is just marginally too big anyways, so that didn't work. And I reverted to plan A, which was just to drift it out. A couple of little taps, just rested this in a vise, didn't crush it obviously because it needs to be sensitive to the width for the traction on the wheel. But I've just given it a couple of drifts, literally a tap or two, and the pin's out. So this one's going to be easy. Just going to have a quick measure up though, make sure these two are the same, and then we can get it back together again. So let's get the very near on this then. And the old one across the axle is, what, 8.2, and the new one is, yep, 8.2, 8.3, and the OD on these, what's that, well, 12.9. Well, 13. This one's marginally bigger, I think. 13.5. I think these are supposed to be 13.5, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes when it goes in. I'm just going to treat this as if it were a motorcycle axle, really, and just get some cleaner. This is alcohol. Just clean up the pin, and I'll probably just put a tiny little bit of grease, literally a marginal dab. Almost, literally almost nothing on there, but just enough to help it along a little bit. Okay then, with clean fingers, let's see if we can get this back together. Okay, well, it spins nicely. Yep. That pin's in good now. It's spinning. Obviously I've been handling it, so I'll go over this with some isopropyl alcohol, then we'll get it back in again. Right, just before we reassemble, just going to clean the post, and again a touch of grease. hardly any, but it is metal on metal contact every time you press the play button. So okay, let's try and get this back together, shall we? Good. Right, just the E-clip to go back on, and we can give it a test. There she is. Right, here's the new pinch roller in then, and hopefully we'll be in for a go situation. Okay, so it's pulling through all right, but the take-up's not great. And remember we said that there might be a bit more of an issue with this take-up reel here. So we can see that it's playing, so the capstan's pressing against that roller nicely and pulling the tape through off of the supply reel. That's nice and smooth. In fact, the take-up's okay now. So yeah, it might have just need bedded in, but in either event it's definitely pulling through okay. But I'm still going to replace that take-up rubber, I think. So first thing I want to do is just get the pulley off, and that's just a split washer here. We'll remove this one. Super carefully, don't lose it. And then just press against the spring to give us clearance. And yeah, so this is the one we did clean. We tried to treat this with rubber renew earlier on, but it's a bit hard. To be honest with you, it's not ideal. It'll probably break if we try and take it off even. Yeah, it's okay. So what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and made my own. I've stamped these out using dies, and I can use one of these, but actually I've still got a good one on a donor unit, so I'm going to go and pinch the legit one off a donor unit, which is still nice, and I'm going to put that on here, and then we should be all systems go. So we've got the new tyre on. I'm just going to get any handling sort of grease off my fingers, off the rubber, and then we'll put the little washer back on. Followed by the pulley, and then lastly the little split washer. Like so. So if we try it now, there we go. Right, here we go, play. Okay, well I'll turn the volume down, but you can see the take-up's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Supply reel's moving well, take-up reel's good, and it's rewinding, it's fast forwarding, and play. And I'll just see if we can do the search as well. Watch out for the green light, the APSS. There you go, that's listening now. That was a long track, but there we go, it's found the, there we go, found the end of the last track and the beginning of the new one. Marvellous. Just try that reverse. We'll leave it running for a few seconds and we'll just try it backwards. It'll only take a second in theory. There it is, and there's the next track. So it's working forwards and backwards. Obviously it's clear, it's being pulled through beautifully with a new pinch roller, and the new idler tyre as well is giving it plenty of grip. So just play it regularly again. There we go, and the take-up's lovely on that. So happy days, good stuff. Right, let's get it back together then, and we'll have a final reveal. So here it is then, the GF-6060 from Sharp. Nice little unit actually. I picked it up as not working, and I was quite impressed by the fact that it still had the original instruction book with it. I found out subsequently that the box was still in the attic, so that was good. They've dug that out and sent that with it as well, so all very nice. Problem was, it was pretty dirty and grimy, and the cassette mech was seized up, and also it didn't have an aerial either. So in part 1 we stripped it down, had a look at the mech, cleaned all that up, replaced the belts and that kind of thing, and kind of got it running. Part 2, we saw in this one that we needed to replace the aerial. It wasn't just the aerial itself that had snapped, it was the stem. So in order to do that, we've had to remove the entire circuit board to get access to the antenna screw. So we've replaced that, sorted all that, and good stuff. Also, we've just fettled the mech as well. Although in part 1 I serviced it and got it running, I wasn't sure how long that pretty hard pinch roller was going to last. So we've just taken the opportunity to put a new one in and a new idler tyre as well. So all in all, very nice. So let's just check it real quick. I'll turn one of the lights off, purely because that's on the same circuit and it interferes with the FM. So let's just get the radio on.
100, 100. Yes. Paying for them. Do you crazy time?
And you could see the FM stereo light there. Everything's working a treat on the radio. So let's give the tape a quick whirl as well. Now the mech was seized up before, but it should be running nicely now. And here we go. And I've got no idea when the next track's going to be, but I'm just trying the APS-S. We can see the light is on, the little green light, just over here. And you can hear it squealing and listening in, looking for a break in the song. At some point, there should be a little break, like so. And it'll take up, like so. And there's the new song. So good stuff. We know it's pulling through nicely on the new pinch roller, and the idler tyres now giving it decent take up as well. Nice and strong, all the electronics work, radio works. Happy days, we'll call that a win. So thanks very much for watching. Please check out part 1 if you haven't already. I'll be back soon with plenty more boomboxes, Walkmans, vintage games, 8-track stuff, all that kind of thing. So stay safe, I'll see you soon, but for now, bye bye.